Hey guys, what is going on? I'm back with another lore review, and I'm still enjoying my time in redacted location, but still gotta keep that content churning. So I got another one coming straight from the archives of the Black Library itself, and this one, oh boy, it's a classic. We have the first book of the classic Eisenhorn trilogy, Xenos by Dan Abnett. And this is a big one for sure. Straight off the bat, I mean, what can you say? It's a classic. Dan Abnett, I think, has proven himself to be one of the Black Library's most capable writers and most influential and most prolific. It's a name heard around the globe if you're into this hobby. Whether you read the books or not, I think, it's being produced into a Netflix series, I believe. This book is a lot of fun, okay? That's not to say it's perfect, but it's a lot of fun overall. I think this is Dan Abnett's first foray into 40k. Gaunt's Ghost might have been first. Don't get too mad at me, please. I'm new. But we get to see a young Eisenhorn tackling one of his first major takedowns that leads into a greater conspiracy that spans several planetary systems. I'm not exactly sure where in the galaxy they take place, but around somewhere in the Milky Way. And it introduces a whole bevy of side characters, his retinue, some additional folks who become retinue, some other inquisitors. Me personally, I think the Inquisition is one of the most interesting aspects of the setting. I think they're absolutely fascinating in terms of what they do, who they deal with, how they deal with things. And one of the most interesting things I think about the Inquisition is they're just humans. There's nothing super special about them. Most of them are well, okay. There's some stuff that's super special about them. Most of them have, very powerful psychic abilities. But beyond that, they're basically just people, and it's interesting to see the very few groups of few people with actual free agency in the galaxy do with their power of choice. And that is really kind of the greatest power that Inquisitors have, is that they get to choose how they approach problems, how they do anything. They have to make ethics choices, moral choices, as well as intellectual ones. And it's really one of the most, I think, relatable sort of human characters that you can find in the 40k universe, as we all sort of act with free agency in our day-to-day lives. I mean, they're much more powerful than we are in many ways, but more or less as we understand 21st century person to be operating in this 40th millennium, 42nd millennium sort of status. Early Eisenhorn. What do I think of the writing? The writing overall I think is good. There's a little bit at times where it gets a little bit try hard. It's a little bit awkward. There's some parts that haven't aged well. There's a part where he is staring at the hot bod of his dead companion, and it's just like, come on, man, that's not good. That's not a good look. That's not good for anybody. And there's another part about halfway in the book where there's a torture scene. So if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, might want to at least give that chapter a pass. But he, as a result of that torture, is rendered physically unable to smile forever. And that is just like, it's try hard to be grim dark, that you physically cannot smile. And it's just like, okay, all right, buddy, I get it. You're trying to be grim, and it's being laid on a little thick. You know what I mean? That being said, I do not envy whoever is cast to play Eisenhorn, because if you're not allowed to emote while you're acting, that is kind of rough. I would not be surprised if that is omitted from the series. They do kind of come back with that in a cheeky way towards the end of the book, where he remarks that there are times where it's where he's glad no one can tell he's smiling, which I thought was like a nice little cheeky addition. And it didn't redeem it, but it was it was kind of a fun little throw in there. The cast of supporting characters, Eisenhorn himself is quite interesting, but I think the cast of supporting characters is even more interesting. Depicted on the cover, we have a member of his retinue here. Well, not initially, but it becomes a member of his retinue. It is not an Arbites, but like I think a local equivalent of an Arbites named Fischl, who initially starts out as like quite an annoying character, but has a pretty good redemption arc, and I think ends up being one of the more interesting characters in the story. And then we also have the other standout being Bequin, who starts out her life as a prostitute and also has a really good sort of character arc and character development as she grapples with the truth of who she is as a person. Becomes kind of supremely important, and later on she, as I understand, even has her own series of spin-off books, which I'm like really excited to read because I think her character is super interesting, and I think the way that Dan writes her is good and like not very, very problematic. You know, there's the old trope that men can't write women. I think Bequin is written quite well in fairly unproblematic manners, even though this is, you know, kind of his first outing, and there are some other slightly problematic things that happen in the book. But overall, though, I would say this one is, I mean, it's a must read, right? It's not a perfect book and by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely, if you're into Warhammer and you want to get interested in the lore, this is absolutely the one to start on. Minor gripe: book is called Xenos, and there is an alien species in it, but most of the book is focused on chaos, and I'm like, come on, man. You're Gregor Eisenhorn of the Ordo Xenos, and your initial enemy is a chaos person, and then everything else kind of revolves around chaos this entire book. There are aliens, but there's a whole lot more chaos than there are Xenos in this book. So I don't know why it's called Xenos. I don't know why he was initially framed as a Xenos Inquisitor. I feel like it would make more sense if he was just one of the anti-heresy one. I don't remember if that's Malleus or the other one. I don't remember the names of them at the moment. Doesn't decrease the quality of the read. It's just like kind of annoying. I wish there was more sort of like an alien aspect to it. Overall, I would say in terms of quality, this is a solid 4 out of 5. I think in lore, in terms of lore importance, I mean, it's Eisenhorn. He's a massive figure in the lore. And not only is he a massive figure in the lore, but this also, I think, establishes several concepts that are important to the Warhammer setting as a whole and kind of going forward as well. And it sets off really an entire series and several series of books. So, I mean, you can't say that Xenos is not important for the lore, really, at all. And in terms of newbie friendliness, in terms of a jumping off point for the Black Library for Warhammer fiction, this has got to be a 5 out of 5. If currently, from what I have read, if I were to recommend a single book for a new Warhammer fiction reader to read, Dan Abnett Xenos. Start here, start with the Eisenhorn trilogy. I have yet to read Malleus and Hereticus. That's the other one. That's what it was the whole time. I was staring at it on the back of this book. I have yet to read them. I plan on it. I've heard they're just as good, if not better. You know, I think there were a little bit of growing pains with this one, but that does not decrease the strength of my recommendation. I think it describes the setting of Warhammer great. I think the characters are really interesting and mostly quite well written. And I think the conflicts presented are also interesting and really very Warhammer. Really, absolutely setting the standard for Warhammer fiction, I think. Absolutely would recommend. That's it, you know, is Xenos, you know, is Xenos. They're making a freaking show out of it. And that's for a good reason. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I'm going to cool it with the book reviews a little bit. I just needed some content while I was away on vacation, although I'm going to probably be reading a decent amount on vacation as well. So I will have more lore reviews. And I'm also thinking of doing a new segment called Homebrew Review, where I take a look at people's homebrew factions, Space Marine chapters, Forge Worlds, such as battle orders, non-Imperium things, and taking a look at what other people in the community have come up with. So if you are interested in getting your own homebrew potentially reviewed by me, leave a comment below expressing that interest. Anyways, if you like this review, if you found it helpful, please leave a like. That, as always, that helps me out. And if you want to see more book reviews, more lore reviews, and some homebrew reviews, as well as all of that hobby content and tutorial stuff that you're used to, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. That's all for now. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.